All right. You know what? Let's go to Mike, Ken, Mark, David, Justin, and then I'm going to get into all this military news and the U.S. ambassador to the UN saying that this Israeli situation may be a prelude to an attack on Iran. Very serious. But let me give each caller a minute. Mike in New York, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hello, Alex. How are you?
Good, sir.
I heard you talking earlier today in your broadcast about E. coli and E. coli byproducts. I'm a biochemist and I work for Ortho-Clinical Diagnostics, and I have worked with HB101, which is a non-pathogenic form of E. coli. There's many variants of E. coli. There's probably hundreds. You can't be sure of everything that's out there because there's
Yeah, I thought there were thousands of E. coli, yeah.
Oh, sure. I mean, there's people working with them, transfecting genes constantly with them, so it can change, it's at a lightning speed.
Yeah, they get more mutations to find what they're looking for.
Right. I used to produce fluorescent green protein with them. The neat thing about HB101 is they're like a blank slate. You transfect genes into them, and they'll make whatever you tell them to make. We make human insulin with them, which was a remarkable breakthrough because we used to have to rely on pig insulin for people who are diabetic. Now we have huge, 30,000-pound vats of E. coli who are just pumping out and producing insulin for people.
I know, but I mean, my point is I tell the audience that aspartame is basically produced by E. coli, and they tell me I'm a liar. I mean,
right, and that's why I'm calling, because it's absolutely true. That's what's going on, and what's really fearful is what else are they making with it. We've transfected genes, human genes, retroviruses, and the list goes on and on. I spoke with Dr. Bauer over at the U of R, University of Rochester, with a program that they have over there where they're packaging viruses. This has become a cottage industry for them. They ship these things out, and I'm sure it's proprietary type of technology. But
and then they're taking the genetics they breed in the bacteria and injecting it into another life form and then into another life form, and it's in our food. And then I talked to top scientists, but you work in this, tell me if that's correct, that then it's randomly mutating once it's put in another organism, and they have no idea, and this is just going on everywhere. And
this is the most scary thing about biology, and that, I don't fear nuclear effects, nuclear war as much as, or chemical warfare as I do biological warfare, because once the genie's out of the bottle, it's out of control, it's in nature's hands. You can't predict what it will do, what will happen in the future. It could be the most horrific things that the consequences that nobody ever expected. And this is the problem with a lot of what's going on with the government's experimentation in this, the military's. The government and military's motives cannot be trusted. I remember the spider goat work up at Plattsburgh Military Facility in New York State, which isn't far from me.
I interviewed the director of that.
Yeah, I have a colleague who worked at the Spider Thread Protein Project 15 years ago at the U of R. They could never get the protein right, so someone came up with the bright idea, and it was genius to transfect the spider's gene to make the protein into a larger domesticated animal, and they chose goats to do so because it's easier to extract the protein out of the milk. All these things are very easily done. There are biochemical companies out there that sell gene slicing and splicing agents. Slicing is cutting bonds or cutting cell walls and so on. The biochemical world, this is a huge part of the industry and very common. It's actually can be a very good thing, and there's nothing wrong with it per se. But when you get into the abuses of this technology, the consequences are monstrous, and that's really the very fearful thing. And everything has to be monitored very closely. What are people doing with it? What are they trying to do?
And now
with it?
They're building 36 level 4 bioweapons labs, moving them from Plum Island to Kansas, moving them from, the desert in Area 51 to San Antonio, Texas. And then who released the weaponized foot and mouth in 2000 that the government used to shut down the farms and ranches? They admit the government released it, but it was an accident.
Right.
And, the stuff we know, I'll see a blurb in the Washington Post about human genes in chimpanzees in Argentina, but then you tell the public that and they don't believe you, or human-animal hybrids they already have, and you tell the public, and imagine if they're admitting all that, what is it we don't know about in Black Ops?
What are they not telling you? I get emails quite often in the last year or so from the Department of Defense looking for people to work in their military projects. And
have you heard the story about my dad, the dentist, oral surgeon, when I was in the mid-'80s? They tried to hire him and a bunch of other dentists, and it was a huge industrial underground secret operation, double the money he said no, but exactly. And see, they contacted you. I mean, how big are these projects?
Yeah, there's so much going on out there. They said they would waive all the restrictions for military, enrollment. your age, everything else. They want a lot of people. They're looking for a lot of people to work on these projects. And what scares me a little bit about the projects are that's like working for the mob. It's being married to the mob. You don't retire from these projects. They retire you from
and
these
now
projects.
They've got the Human Genome Project and that National Geographic front to get everybody's roots, and they've been taking blood for 35 years from everybody born. That's now admitted in a secret DNA database. They've got race-specific bioweapons for individuals, and I've told them by top sources, they've got these gene splicing factories where if they have their DNA, they now have entire factories that can engineer a bioweapon just for you individually.
Right, yeah.
They have tailored systems. Tell folks about that.
Well, even AIDS is very specific like that. AIDS was probably one of their first projects 30 years ago, where it is more prone to non-Caucasians. There's different types of our antibody systems that are a little bit different from race.
Isn't it the
race.
coupler?
Yes. I think it's coupler 19, and it becomes somewhat race specific, and they've advanced. I would be from an academic perspective, very interested to see how far they've come with this. I went back to get re-educated in the biochemical field 3 years ago. Go back and finish up with my master's, and it amazed me at how far that this industry and this technology has come in the last 10, 15 years. And this is what we're teaching at the university level. What's going on in other laboratories?
Yeah, to explain, what's being taught at the university level is generally 5 years behind the most advanced stuff.
Easily.
Well, I remember seeing 10 years ago, 11 years ago, glowing monkeys in Hong Kong, just like in Blade Runner, where, he's going around buying, genetically engineered snakes or whatever, or cockatoos or owls, where, and this was like in the BBC, in the Washington Post, and then I remember seeing videos of glowing monkeys in the dark. They've got massive jellyfish genes in them.
Right.
And then I cover it on air, and listeners call me a liar. I mean, it's just denial.
That technology is almost, that specific technology is almost, I got to say, 15 to 20 years old. We use that for right now in good scenarios. We use it in tracing movement of fluids and minerals through plant life and through even perhaps animal life.
Yeah, instead of injecting
radioactive dyes,
yeah.
we can use them as a visual indicator. Out in Cornell here in New York State, they use that quite extensively. It's less evasive in the field, and you can put it on the ground. Plant life will absorb it, and it's not hazardous like using radioactive.
Hey, what do you think the chemtrails are? What do you think they're spraying?
Boy, I don't know, and I'm real fearful of that, because again, here we go with polluting the environment, and it's something that you almost can't escape because it gets in the air, the water, the soil.
Well, here's the big problem. You're a scientist, and we know the globalists are psychopaths. They've got everything compartmentalized. This was all set up to carry out eugenics. We know the Rockefellers in the 30s isolated that most cancer was viral. We know that their weaponized cancer programs what created the HIV. That's declassified. And they are sworn to kill us. And I'm telling you, they're going to get their police state in place. They're going to get us, under their control, and then they're going to kill everybody. And I want the cops and people listening. You think you're going to win? You think it's going to be fun rolling America, taking us down? You got the power, ha, ha, ha. You have no idea who you're working for and no idea what's happening to all of you.
Well, that's
all of you.
About like with your previous guest about purchasing food directly from farmers that hasn't been tampered with, hasn't been irradiated, hasn't been pasteurized. I grew up with non-pasteurized milk. I grew up on a semi-farm. We raised our own cattle, pigs. We made our own food. We made everything from our own mustard and things like this. Made maple syrup, and we just lived off the land. And that's what people really need to realize is just about everything you buy in the grocery store has been tampered with, altered. I can't believe the garbage when you read the label, how many chemicals are in just fruit juice or something that you buy off of.
But they have all these byproducts left over from the oil industry. They got to put them somewhere. So instead of it being we have sodium fluoride to crack the oil.
Yeah, it's just amazing that you find that in food, or even just, I shouldn't say food or consumable products, because when you read a label, it tells you it's poison not to swallow it.
Hey, I'd like to have you on as a guest. I don't know if you want to go public with your name or recommend any other doctors or scientists you think we ought to interview, because all your info you're saying checks out. I'd love to have you on as a guest. You're really a well-spoken fellow. Will you email Aaron at Infowars.com if you want to come on?
Okay, just Aaron at Infowars, and it's EIR or E.
It's AARON.
AAR.
Yep. Thank you, sir. We'll be right back.
Hi, this is Ted Anderson. Have you ever wondered why banks, stockbrokers, investment advisors won't talk about gold for your IRA? The financial industry refuses to recognize the value of real hard assets for your retirement. The truth be told, gold and silver has outperformed paper investments like stocks, bonds, and CDs, yet no word about IRAs. Perhaps the financial institutions want to maintain control of your assets by keeping you in paper. If you'd like to take a look at gold for your retirement, call 800-686-2237. Don't get left behind by rising inflation and low return on your paper investments. Call 800-686-2237. Make sure that you secure your future. Call 800-686-2237. That's 1-800-686-2237.